how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Encounter. This is from 2016, written, produced, and directed by Susannah O'Brien, PhD. Yeah, first time I saw a director with a PhD, but that's cool, I guess. The movie stars Justin Arnold, Andrea Nelson, and Don Scribner. And it's also worth noting that according to my research, in a few markets this was rebranded as American Poltergeist 3. The American Poltergeist series was a series of unrelated independent films about ghost and haunted houses that some distribution company decided that they should be branded into a franchise. Now, from what I gather, after American Poltergeist 2, the branding became less and less common, and it was mainly just an excuse to sell DVDs in Germany of independent American films. But whatever. If you guys know more about this than I do, feel free to leave comments about the American Poltergeist series. But how about the movie in its own right? What is Encounter like? Encounter is not great. It falls into the same trappings that I've seen in a bunch of independent horror films, of them actually trying, but not really much of anything actually happening. There's not many scares, they don't really escalate, there's not much plot, it doesn't seem to go anywhere, I was never invested, I was never scared, not much seemed to be happening in general, and also the movie's themes and ideas seemed to be muddled and not presented clearly. They were kind of unfocused. So yeah, this wound up being kind of a not much happens indie movie, which I've seen a lot of before, and I know there's budgetary issues with these things, but I would at least like a developed story, and I would like something more to happen as the movie goes on. Not much of anything here. I don't hate it, but it doesn't really do anything at all. But before I get too far, what's the movie about? No major spoilers, but the setup for this movie is you get a young couple that has eloped. The guy wants to make a movie about orbs. You know, ghosts in a haunted house that appear as these little balls of light. The guy says, if I make this movie, I can probably get a job as a professor somewhere, and then we have a nice little start to our life. So they rent a room in this house that's supposedly very haunted. They set up all their static night vision cameras, they're wanting to catch a ghost, but quite quickly the movie becomes about the old man they're renting the house from and how he's acting a little creepy and strange, and then the movie starts to focus on how this affects them, and then by the end of the movie we're talking about something completely different. So yeah, like I said up at the top, the movie does have a focus issue. It starts off wanting to be a ghost hunter story and wanting to be about orbs, and the back of the DVD does mention that it's about orbs in the description. And when I heard this, I was like, okay, orbs aren't the scariest thing in the world, but they're a common thing on ghost hunter shows, and it would make sense that someone would do a movie about them. But psych, this movie really isn't about orbs. In fact, I don't think there was a single orb in this movie. I literally, once the movie was over, took the DVD to a bigger TV and looked through some of the night vision sequences, and I don't think there was any orbs in this movie that started out saying, oh, we're all about orbs. We do get like a light fixture swinging, and we get some doors opening, some low-grade haunted house stuff, but the haunted house, the movie seems to not really care too much about it. For real. They say, oh, this is a super haunted house, and we find out that some people had moved out and there was like cattle mutilation or something, but we don't get a bunch of lore. We don't get to find out too much about the legend around this house. The movie doesn't really care about the ghost element, so we set that up and then we kind of forget about it, only to check in on the night vision every now and then and see the fridge door opening or something like that. After that, we do get a bit of the movie about the old man being kind of creepy. It's not really that great either. Yeah, he does do a few things that if you saw that in real life, you would say, okay, that's creepy, we should probably move. But for the most part, it's not really him doing much of anything. Oh, he made a noise in the middle of the night. Or, oh, his room has a peephole on the door. She really freaks out about that, even though it just sees into the hallway, and maybe you want to see who's knocking at your door sometimes. I don't know, it's not that big of a deal. And then even though this house is in the middle of the country, she freaks out that he has a shotgun. He doesn't like point it at her head or anything, he just has one, and that freaks her out. So yeah, I didn't really see anything super disturbing with the old man. I mean, yeah, like I said, there's a couple scenes that kind of get there, but it's not really a good creepy old man story either. It does later on get quite into the, oh, I'm so scared, this is affecting me psychologically, but that's really just the actors going, oh, I'm scared, this is affecting me psychologically. We don't really see much happening. What we do see stays pretty low level. It doesn't increase, it doesn't build up, it doesn't get bigger and bigger, working with the tension and the story progression. And oh yeah, the story progression, not really much feels like it's happening here. Every now and then we get some plot point, but because we go, this is about orbs, this is about an old man, this is about this or that, we don't really feel like we have a train, and in turn it feels like the plot's simmering at the bottom of the pan, every now and then a bubble, but no direction and no build-up. And in turn, it feels like nothing's really happening in this movie. It's an orb movie that's not about orbs, and in turn, it feels like a nothing burger. I will also say with that whole abandoned ghost hunting thing, this also sets up like it's going to be a found footage movie, and then abandons that. Like we open up, stuck in this guy's camera, he's doing this whole vlog, hey, I just got married, now I'm gonna look for ghost. We talk all about the orbs, and we show him setting up all these cameras. We get the whole paranormal activity thing where it says night number whatever, and then the time in the corner, a nice little shot of their bed. She even stands and stares off into the distance just like Katie from Paranormal Activity, but randomly in the movie, it'll just kind of stop doing that for longer and longer. We'll get a random shot that's not found footage, and then we'll get another, and before too long, the found footage is mostly just abandoned. And don't get me wrong, you can shoot the movie in whatever style you want to, but when you start off so firmly saying this is going to be a found footage movie and then you dump that, it honestly feels like that motif was too hard for you and you simply quit. From what I was hearing about the movie, I thought it would be found footage, and it's actually maybe 10% of the movie is. I really did like the red night vision that the found footage had, and you really could have done something super creepy with that, but as I said, the movie really doesn't care about having big scares and not much happens, so the red night vision, as pretty as it is totally lost. But whatever. As I said, I didn't hate this movie. It didn't feel lazy or anything. You can tell they were trying to make something, but lack of scares, aimless plot, no focus on what it's supposed to be about, it didn't really work for me. But then there is one more thing that I have to mention that really is just the cherry on top of it all, and that's how it ends. I won't spoil how it ends, so I'll talk about this pretty vaguely, but all of a sudden at the end of the movie, out of nowhere, it introduces what the movie has really been about the whole time, and it's pretty much unrelated to anything that has come before this. And when you look back at the plot, you can see the little clues, the little things pointing in this direction, and you also see why this is why some of the ideas it set up earlier weren't elaborated on. So it's not that it doesn't make sense within the continuity, it's just when you're watching the movie, it comes out of nowhere, and not gonna lie, it feels really, really stupid. I saw the big reveal shot and kind of felt like groaning. You spend all of your movie building up some ideas, but then to just say in that last little bit, no, it's really all been about this big other idea, it is surprising. I didn't see it coming, but surprising doesn't instantly mean good. And you can tell because they were doing all this work to hold off this final plot element, that's why so much of the movie failed beforehand. And I can't help but think that if you just were honest about this being what the movie was about, you could have incorporated that earlier and had an honest-to-goodness plot structure. But you know what? What if we just did an out-of-nowhere dumb twist and had that be the reason we ruined our movie? Why not? So yeah, not gonna lie, wasn't a huge fan of this, but whatever, I've seen a lot worse. All that being said though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see me talk about more movies kind of like this, you can click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.